We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Boxing Ego Unpacked. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Wow. David Haye says Deontay Wilder is the hardest punching heavyweight in boxing history, and he's picking him to knock out Tyson Furies. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also, subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. If you want to become part of the gang notification gang, please hit the bell icon. Shout out to the super chats, channel donations, the Venmo donations, the Cash App, and the Patreon family. We working. Sign up for ESPN Plus below using my link. It definitely helps the channel, people. Now, David Haye did an interview, link in the description, and he's a person that knows Wilder firsthand. He brought him in his camp one time, they sparred, and he's talked about it ever since. David Haye said this in the interview, quote, "In the first fight, we saw Tyson Fury at his best, so now the fact that he's changed his coach so close against a guy who had his worst time the last time around, I'm going with Deontay Wilder by stoppage. There's clearly worry. You know, you could see it in Tyson Fury's team that there's worry, which I'll get to more of my thoughts, but let me continue with what David Haye said. He says, I truly think that Wilder is the hardest punching heavyweight ever. That's not an exaggeration. I got hit by Wilder in sparring, and I've been hit by Vladimir Klitschko on the chin with 10-ounce gloves. There was more effect with Wilder hitting me on the top of my head with 18-ounce gloves on and me wearing a head guard, and he wasn't even hitting me clean. They were just glancing, and I felt that more. I remember thinking after I sparred with Wilder, this guy is going to do something. Right? He said Wilder was all over the place, but the power. The fact that no one really mentions is Wilder's punch resistance. I've never heard anyone say he could take a shot. He could take a shot. I've given him some big punches, and I've buzzed him a bit, and he's been back wanting more. He said, I'm like, whoa, not only does he have a good chin, but his recovery power is great. Most people you hit with one shot and their legs go a bit, and they're not quite the same. They step back, and it takes them a couple of rounds to get it. With Wilder, he's just straight back on. I remember thinking he can punch and he could take a shot. Once he gets his technique up to scratch, which it is now, he's the heavyweight champion of the world. I always knew from then this kid at some time is going to be something very, very special. Right? Wow. Huge praise from a cruiserweight and heavyweight champion who's from he's British, you know, he's from the UK. Listen, it is over for old media. I told you, all that foolish stuff that we hear from UK media, UK boxing channels and fans, and them saying nobody knows Wilder, those days are over. Those days are numbered, buddy. Right? You got somebody, and shout out to David Haye. You know, I've always liked David Haye, you know. But I feel like David Haye and Carl Froch keep it a buck like a dollar store. Shout out to Eminem for that. Bro, they keep it a buck, and they don't just fanboy out and man fan and just side with the UK fighter if in their heart they believe otherwise. He's giving his honest assessment. He's giving you his honest experience, and I could respect that. Listen, people have to understand in this boxing game that there's a difference between going with what you feel in your heart is going to be the case and betting with your heart. Me on my channel, like, I'll give you a quick example. When I say I want to see Demetrius Andrade versus Canelo or Charlo versus Canelo, people think it's out of spite or malice to see Canelo get beaten because this is how they think. Often in life, people project their innermost fears on you or their behaviors or how they would act in a situation, and they project that on you. Donald Trump does this a lot, you know? Like, he'll talk about Hillary Clinton emails and this and that, and he got all this stuff with Ukraine, China, you know, Russia, all this type of stuff going on in the background. So it's just like you're one to talk. But nonetheless, in this boxing game, I see a lot of fans do it, and they really merely pick with their hearts and emotion, and it's just more beta male behavior. So when people have the integrity to give real assessments and, their honest opinion, no matter where you're from, I can respect it. Like I said, when I talk about wanting to see Canelo versus Charlo or Andrade, people assume I'm saying this because I'm supporting black fighters or, just whatever silly reason, because I think Canelo will get beat. But I actually respect Canelo and his fight game, and I think it's a good fight and it's a great fight for boxing. It's not even a fight prediction. I'm saying I want to see the fight, but they don't want to see the fight. So therein lies the problem. If I want to see the fight, you don't want to see the fight, and I'm pushing to see the fight because win, lose, or draw, I don't care who wins. I want to see it. I like all of them guys, right? Pause. And they don't want to see it. Then they assume, oh, you're not on our side because we want to see Canelo fight Cupcakes and Ryota Murata and people that he can beat, and we're pretty confident he could beat. So it's just funny. But back to David Haye. At the end of the day, I appreciate it because, I remember, I believe Johnny Nelson, he was doing interviews when Canelo was about to fight Amir Khan, and he said Amir Khan's going to beat Canelo. And anybody with like a bit of boxing prowess or intelligence would know that fight didn't favor Amir Khan in really any way. There was no rehydration clause. It was a weight that he wasn't comfortable with, more weight than he could probably handle. He had been stopped multiple times from Bradis Prescott, Danny Garcia, right? He had been hurt multiple times. He had a long layoff. His last performance was Chris Algieri, and he didn't look good in that fight. And he got hurt in the first round by Chris Algieri, who was coming off an embarrassing loss to Pacquiao, where he got dropped 6 times. It might have been 8, but he got dropped a bunch of times. And let out the cage and all this stuff. And you have a UK commentator with Sky Sports who's just saying Amir Khan, arbitrarily saying he's going to win. Like, I understand having personal relationships, but me, in terms of my integrity, if I thought somebody that I had a relationship, like a business relationship with, was going to lose or get whooped, then, I probably would just elect to not give a fight prediction. I'd rather someone do that, just not say much and just say, oh, we have to wait and see, or, just try to play devil's advocate, both sides or something like that, than to outright lie and, say some stuff we know you don't feel. And that's why I think new media is so impactful. And I appreciate the people like David Haye for giving an honest assessment. He could easily just say, oh, Tyson Fury, and I understand he was about to fight Tyson Fury, so I don't know how strong the relationship is there. But he could easily do what we've seen tons of UK media and UK commentators and, analysts do, which is just side with the UK fighter. And it's not about just siding with it. If you think Tyson Fury is going to win, you think he's going to win. But the reality is, like David Haye is saying, I don't think a lot of people think he's going to win, and they know he's up against it. Wilder has had a tougher schedule, but he didn't take too much punishment, and his confidence should be at an all-time high, destroying Luis Ortiz and going through the Tyson Fury fight, retaining his belt, and then knocking out Dominic Breazeale. The fact that Tyson Fury's last performance, his face looked like mincemeat, looked like roadkill, versus a lesser guy like Otto Violin, shorter, less experience, less power, less reach. So to me, it's like kind of in the cards that Wilder's going to get Tyson Fury out of there. That's the only, since this fight was announced, before it was announced, after the first fight, that's just how I seen it. Now, if boxing offers us a surprise and Tyson Fury somehow wins, then I'll give him his credit. But I really don't see it. I've always seen Wilder winning, and this is now the time where February 22nd becomes Judgment Day, and all that stuff that, the Tyson Fury fans, they're living on a prayer. Bon Jovi, they're hoping and praying he wins, and Ring Magazine and ESPN or whoever, they kept rating Tyson Fury the #1 heavyweight, knowing that there's a high probability and likelihood that he will be knocked out and dropped by Deontay Wilder. But yet and still they act, it's like the Titanic. It's like the band with the Titanic. They just want to go down with the ship, and that's the old media way. Instead of just being like, okay, let me give Wilder some props. I know I called him Chicken Leg Wilder, Windmill Wilder, and all this goofy stuff, Beyonce Wilder, all this goofy stuff that old media does. But let me start paying respect, because now you late to the party, and new media, we created and helped to create this alongside with Wilder's hard work and his performances. And we've created this scenario where you really can't win. Rocky's wife voice. You can win. You can't win because now the fear is setting in, and they're too stubborn to, back down off of what they've been saying. So they're going to keep saying Beyonce Wilder or Bum Squad Wilder, knowing that this will be like, if Wilder ends it right here, then what else can you say about him? Oh, Tyson Fury, he's still the Gypsy King. And, what are you going to say? Wilder, it's old media's trap. February 22nd. I can't wait. Shout out to David Haye. But I agree with what he's saying. And see, this is the old media narrative that they're spinning, is that Tyson Fury wasn't at his best. Tyson Fury keeps lying to the public, saying that he came off of a 3-year layoff and went directly into the Wilder fight. That's how he's making it sound when he's talking at the podium. He's like, oh, you couldn't beat me off a 3-year absence. No, you fought Safiri and Francisco Pianetta, and Wilder was even at the Pianetta fight in Belfast or Northern Ireland or wherever they did it, right? And he got in the ring and they announced Wilder Fury was coming. So how is Tyson Fury now acting like he wasn't at his best and acting like he came off of a sabbatical or some type of 3-year hiatus, which he did have a 3-year hiatus, but he took 2 tune-ups before he even fought Wilder, before that even came into play. But let Tyson Fury say it on the podium and on the mic. He's telling people that he just came, you couldn't beat me off a 3-year layoff. I went straight at you. No, you didn't. You fought 2 tune-ups. You can go to BoxRec and Wikipedia and corroborate everything I'm saying. So that's the misconceived notion and narrative that old media and Tyson Fury keep putting out. Like Wilder fought him off a 3-year layoff and looked how he did, and Tyson Fury looked how he did. That's not the case. David Haye sees it because he just told you. He said Tyson Fury was at his best. Tyson Fury came in at a good weight. He was trained at Big Bear. He had 2-3 trainers, whatever. He had Freddie Roach, Abel Sanchez, Ben Davison. He had sparring. He had came down off the weight, and now he's trying to make it like he wasn't in good shape. And if you notice, his weight, his weigh-in weight for the Wilder fight versus the Pianetta fight was marginal. It wasn't that much. It was like 4 pounds, a 4-pound difference for a 6'9" man. So it's not like the Wilder fight, he was weighing 276 and then now he's fighting at 255. That would be significantly different. You get what I'm saying? But he was in good shape. He was training in Big Bear for the altitude, but he's trying to make it like to I guess showmanship wise and to sell the fight, he's making it look like he wasn't at his best and he was out of shape and stuff. If you fighting Wilder, you training. You better be training, or the EMT gonna be utilizing what they learned in training to try to resuscitate your dumb ass. So I don't believe what Tyson Fury's saying. I think he was in shape. I think Tyson Fury has less room to grow. He didn't really do anything horrifically wrong. He was boxing well. Wasn't masterclass, but he was boxing well, and he still got clipped up. And that was on Wilder's worst night, in terms of just feeling the moment and looking for the knockout more so than we were used to seeing him, because he has knockout power. I think the whole To This Day and first pay-per-view, he was just trying to do too much, trying to win. Kind of like Andre the other day with Lucas Keeler. You could have got that knockout a lot easier, but you made it harder, Same thing with Terrence Crawford versus Mean Machine. The end result was always going to be the end result as far as I'm concerned, but you could have cleaned up the work and made it look even easier. I have that type of faith in Crawford's skill set that he could have pulled that out and just, deplete Mean Machine and frustrate him a little bit and then start walking him down, breaking him down. And then it would have been a shutout. like we're used to seeing from Crawford. But he chose to fight and not switch out of the southpaw position, which he wasn't having success with until later in the fight. He stubbornly stayed southpaw. So, just a pride thing. He was like, oh, I'm not going to let him punk me and, take me out of the southpaw position. So he just kept doing it and was getting tagged and got dropped. But they didn't rule it a slip. They ruled it a slip. And, he did it when he wanted later. But I think more the same. Wilder has much more that he could just let his shots fly. He has much more that he could sharpen up. Tyson Fury, he was as defensively responsible as he needed to be to stay out of trouble for the first 7-8 rounds or whatever until the actual first knockdown. So it wasn't so much that Tyson Fury did much wrong, right? Bottom line, I just think it's Wilder's time. Let me know what you guys think, if you agree with David Haye. Last thing I want to say about that is David Haye is saying something that I've been saying and I've said for years, that Wilder, I think, is the heaviest puncher. I tell you the same story. You could ask my brother. I told my brother I think Wilder might be the heaviest or the largest, biggest puncher in boxing history. And he was like, nah, and he didn't agree with me. And I was like, I don't know. Per capita, he might be, And now it seems like the norm. I'm seeing on ESPN and shows like that, and people are talking about Wilder could be and is the biggest puncher in heavyweight history. And now it seems to be the norm and okay to say that, but new media was the first to say that. I'm like, yo, and trust me, I'm just telling you a quick, brief chronological history. I used to see Wilder fight on undercards of PBC, and I remember he knocked out a dude and they were raving, like, say, oh, this guy got power and blah, blah, blah. I am not like that. I don't just go with the flow. So I'm like, when he first came out, I'm like, nah, his power is probably overrated, because I didn't really know much about Wilder when I was seeing him on them. I think it was like Keith Thurman Bundu or something like that. He fought one like an undercard like that, or Danny Garcia, Amir Khan or something. So it was like a long time ago. And I'm like, man, his power, they probably just, doing what the networks do, trying to sell it. So I wasn't sold. But then how many times a person got to keep doing the same thing for you to announce their greatness? If Kobe Bryant keep winning and keep making clutch game-winning shots like the Black Mamba that he is, then, I mean, when are you going to give him his props? If MJ keep winning buzzer beaters, or Floyd keep winning in general, like Tom Brady keep getting rings. Well, not this year, Niner gang. I can't wait till tomorrow. But if these things keep happening before your eyes, I mean, how long are you going to deny it and be in denial? So Wilder has consistently hurt people. He's in the hurt business, and he's the one to hurt everybody. There's nobody in boxing like that. There's nobody at a high level that's a champion that hurt everybody, visibly, like dropping them and all that. Like, who didn't get dropped by Wilder? Because even in the Bermain-Stavern 1 fight, he got dropped, but the referee did, he tackled Wilder, and then the bell rang, but he got dropped. He for sure got hurt, and he had no legs, and then he tackled Wilder. But to me, that's a drop. If you have to do all that and, tackle somebody, like you trying to be Troy Polamalu or some shit, then he hurt you and you about to go. And then the bell rang, and I think it was the first round. So Wilder is just, I don't know. He's an anomaly. I don't know how many times he has to keep doing the same thing before people give him credit. But like I said, new media, rest in peace to Kobe Bryant. One of my favorites, iconic person, definitely an inspiration for my channel. But that's why you see with this new media movement, I'm giving people roses while they're still here. I'm giving Wilder props before anybody. I was telling you this heaviest puncher because I started collecting data, and I'm like, man, this dude, he might be like, Mike Tyson didn't drop every single person, and Mike Tyson my favorite fighter. Roy Jones, like, bro, I can't think of anybody. There's beasts. Julian not J-Rock. Julian I keep saying Julian Williams. Julian the Hawk. Julian Jackson. He was a beast, but he didn't knock everybody out and hurt every single person. So what we're dealing with, I agree with David Haye. You know, of course I agree because I'm the one that said it. You know, and it's just funny that I say this stuff. I'm on the front line with all these subjects, and you know, people are like, oh, this guy thinks Wilder, you're stupid, and then now it becomes the norm. You know, it reminds me of, and I didn't start this one, but it reminds me of when Floyd Mayweather he was in talks the first time to fight Pacquiao, and he's like, yeah, I'll fight Pacquiao. I just want to make sure we're on an even playing field. I didn't just run through no damn body. I need Pacquiao to take Olympic-style blood and urine samples so we could get the fight on, right? And Floyd was ridiculed. Floyd was called a cheater, a pussy. Not a cheater, but they're calling him a pussy, a coward. Health comes first, Floyd, saying he was weak because he wanted additional drug tests. Now, fast forward to the future after Floyd brought that into boxing and made people take a look at what was going on in the sport. And you know, thousands of people are getting caught. People getting caught with this clenbuterol stuff left and right, among other things like Pilvetkin and Meldonium and Ostarine and Dianabol and Stanozolol, all this stuff, right? Now, all of a sudden, if you don't do a drug test, it's frowned upon, you know? But when Floyd was saying this and telling and warning people what was going on in the sport and saying we got to have a clean sport, especially these major fights, he didn't get no credit and people ridiculed him. So, you know, it's just, that's how the game goes. When I tell you Wilder's the heaviest puncher in boxing history, people said, oh, you're stupid. Now, fast forward to the future, give me my props. Give me my props, because I know y'all, if you day ones, you remember me saying this stuff. I'm like, man, what he's doing is not normal, bruh. This is not ordinary, bruh. Wilder's power just hurting everybody. Plus, I had talked to people who sparred with Klitschko's, sparred with AJ's, and all these dudes, you know, Luis Ortiz and Povetkin, and they was telling me. I got the interviews on the channel and stuff, and people was telling me, and then I was reading other people who I didn't personally interview, and they were saying the same thing. There's one from the UK, Richard Hightower, I believe is his name, 6'8", and he said he sparred all them. He said he sparred both Klitschko's, Vitaly, Vlad, Tyson Fury, sparred AJ and Wilder. He's been around. And he said, no, Wilder's power is over all of them. David Haye just told you. He said Wilder hitting harder than Klitschko, and I fought Klitschko with 10-ounce gloves. Wilder was barely even grazing me. Or not barely, he didn't say that, but he said he wasn't hitting me dead on, bang on, and flush. And we had 18-ounce gloves on, and this shit was worse. Bro, that's not how Wilder got 8 more ounces on his glove. David Haye got headgear, and then Wilder's technique, like I told you, ain't even, you know, maybe as crispy as Vladimir Klitschko in terms of turning over his punches, but he hurting you more, and you got hit flush by Klitschko with no headgear. That's, bro, Wilder's that boy. Let me know what you guys think. We Unpacked, coming to you live. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. BOXINGEGO Unpacked. Yeah.